Hi guys, welcome to The Stylish Dish. Today we're going to do one of my favorites, beef tenderloin with grilled carrots. Come on in. I'm going to teach you guys how to take this and turn it into this. Now going over our ingredients, we have some green scallions, rosemary, a couple carrots. It's my handy dandy salt and pepper grinder, olive oil. One of my favorites is a balsamic truffle infused glaze, a little bit of sriracha beef broth. Also going to have some butter involved, obviously a nice tenderloin. This is a grass fed we got from Butcher Box. Some mushrooms, black truffle, garlic, fresh thyme, and believe it or not, French roast coffee. I'll show you how it's done. Lightly dry all of our ingredients. I'm going to slice up the mushrooms first just to try to prep as much cutting as we can. Once we start cooking, we don't want to have to go back and do any sort of cutting. So we're going to slice through and get all these cut up. Now as I prep all my ingredients, I like to separate everything. Nice little bowls. You can pick up these from a number of different retailers, but nice little bowls to do all your prep work. And like I said, we try to save everything. Now the thyme here is going to go in with the mushrooms. We're going to do a nice sauteed mushroom to go underneath the steak. Now the rosemary, we're going to pull off some of the rosemary. We're going to use the bulk of this. We're not going to use everything. So I don't like to use measuring cups very much or measurements. We're going to save these 2 sprigs for a little bit of garnishing and obviously to cook. We're going to cook the steak in a cast iron skillet, so one of those is going to go great in with the steak. Just peel the carrots. We're going to set those aside. We're going to actually smoke them on the grill as the steak's cooking. For the garlic, I'm going to use a nice handy dandy garlic press. Press about 3 cloves of garlic into the press, into the bowl. We're going to turn this into a nice garlic butter. We're going to add some of the rosemary to the butter, and that's going to be slatted all over the steak. So we're going to go high temp searing, and that's going to really pull out a lot of the flavor. It's going to really enhance the steak and give it an overall great taste. Obviously, if you don't like garlic, you can always go back and reduce the amount of garlic, maybe 1 or 2 or none at all. Leave that up to your discretion. And then obviously butter, we're going to throw half a stick of butter. Half a stick of butter in there. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. A little dash of the sriracha. And this just adds a little bit of dimension to the sauce. Gives it a nice little red color, adds a little dimension to it. Makes it really, really tasty. We'll add a few sprigs of rosemary to it. We're going to put that in the microwave for about 10 seconds. Now we're going to take garlic butter out of the dish. We're going to use a mandolin slicer with this black truffle just to add a little bit of truffle flavor. Now we probably won't use the whole amount. I'm going to get enough in there to give it some flavor as we brush it on, but I also want to shave a little bit off as an added garnish for later. I'm going to take a little bit of the garlic butter. Now that it's melted, we're going to mix this all up, and it's going to give us a really good color and a lot of flavor for this steak. Now, we're going to attack this coffee. I'm going to throw it into the coffee grinder. Just a tablespoon, at most half a tablespoon of whole beans. We want to grind this really fine. Just a little bit of coffee, we're going to throw it in here. We're going to use that as a seasoning. That's going to give a nice earthy tone to the steak. It's going to give it a little bit of smokiness, a little bit of richness, a slight bit of acidity to the steak. It's going to really enhance and complement the flavors of the beef. Now onto the steak. We got a nice grass-fed beef tenderloin here. It's not too big. It's only about 5 ounces, 6 ounces. What we're going to do is we're going to salt it. Now this is coarse ground Himalayan pink salt that I have in here. And it looks like you got a lot, but mind you, a lot of it's going to come off when you're cooking, so don't worry about over salting it. And a pro tip, if you really want to get into it, salt it about 2 days prior and throw it in a vac sealer or a nice Ziploc bag. Get the air out. It really enhances it. Use some black pepper, fresh coarse black pepper is going to go on here. Nice little amount. And then we're just going to take some of our black coffee. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of black coffee. Sometimes I find putting it on the plate, working it in a little bit, and that's what's going to give us a lot of that nice, rich crust and nice flavor to it. So, not a whole lot of coffee, and I still got plenty. I ground up way too much, but just a little bit of coffee to enhance the steak. And we're going to set that on paper towel. Now, one pro tip when you cook a steak, the best thing you can do, even though you want your steak nice and juicy, keep it dry. I wrap my steaks up frequently in a paper towel to soak up some of that water moisture. Think of it, when you're cooking high temperature, the water actually causes it to steam, and that doesn't give you a nice good char to it, and it kind of takes away from the meat. It makes it tougher and a little overdone. All right, now we're going to take the steak. I got the Traeger set to 225. It's going to take a little while to cook, but we're going to take the steak, put it right on the grill grates. That way you can get a nice smokiness. The carrots, we're going to throw the carrots also on the grill, and we're going to give them a nice little, just a shot of salt and pepper. Now what we're going to do is we're going to smoke the steak. Low temperature. You want this, and it's called a reverse sear. So nice and low, 225. I like my steaks rare, so I'm going to cook it till it gets to about 90 degrees internal temperature. Once I do that, I'm going to throw it off, do it right into the cast iron with all that nice good butter that we have. I'm back to the inside. While the steaks smoke, we're going to heat up a skillet, add a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to dump our mushrooms in. We're going to retain about a handful, give or take. That looks about right. And those are going to go in this cast iron, but we're going to take the mushrooms, we're going to throw it in there with the olive oil. The rest of our stick of butter. We're going to add our fresh thyme. Good dash of salt. Quite a bit of black pepper. And we're going to add just a little of that beef broth. Maybe a half a cup at most. And if you want to throw some red wine in there, it definitely wouldn't hurt. We're going to let this saute for probably about 10 minutes. We're going to stir it as needed till it creates a nice consistency. All right, we're going to check on the steaks. About 87 degrees. Now what I do is I like a rare steak, so taking it off around 90 degrees, go up 5 degrees for every other temperature you want. 5 degrees more for medium rare, then medium, and so on and so forth. So we're going to take this off, since we're pretty close. And remember what I said, I always keep the steak nice and dry. So I'm going to put it right onto the paper towel. I want all that moisture away. And that's going to allow the butter and all the richness in the pan to get a great sear. Any moisture that you have is going to turn into steam, and that's going to eliminate the sear. So carrots are still on. We're going to keep those on, but we're going to crank the temperature all the way up on max. On the induction with the cast iron, we've got that going. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this nice, rich butter that we have. We're going to throw it in there. We're going to save a good 1 to 2 scoops. Throw our mushrooms in. Couple sprigs. Cook that around, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our steak, throw that right on there. Let that cook for probably about 2 to 3 minutes per side. I'm going to flip halfway through and give it a good stir. Now after flipping my steak, it's looking like it's got a good char going on. I'm going to add another scoop of that nice rich butter, smash it in. And I pulled the rosemary up so it doesn't burn. We're going to throw that on and let that kind of drizzle all in. About another minute, and I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to put it on the plate to rest. I'm back inside. We've got the steak wrapped up. It's going to rest for about 5 minutes. We've got all of our garnishings that we're going to really stylize this plate. Mushrooms coming along, looking good. Now, just so you guys know, I did add about 2 or 3 pinches of flour to it just to thicken the sauce a little bit. I'm going to wait about 2 minutes, then I'm going to pull the carrots out and we can start plating it up. All right, now we got the carrots off. So all we're going to do is we're going to put them on our cutting board. We're going to cut the ends off, cut the tips off unless you want the tips. Sometimes they get a little burnt on the grill. And toss those. And we want to just cut them into carrot chunks. Nice 45-degree angle. Be careful, they are hot. Now here's where the magic happens. We're going to take our tongs and we're going to throw the carrots down on the plate. Our mushrooms. So we're going to take some of these. We're going to do just a little bit, and that's where our steak's going to end up sitting. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to go a little beyond. Now, we're not going to use all these mushrooms because I made enough for a batch of 2, but I only cooked 1 steak. So we've got the mushrooms down, the steak. Now that it's had a good chance to rest, we're going to take that and look at that nice char to it. I'm going to set that right on the mushrooms. Now we're going to take some more of the nice rich butter that we have. We're going to put that on top. Sometimes it sticks. I'm going to brush a little bit down to a nice little dollop. Now the fun part. We are going to take a little bit of the rosemary that we have. We're going to sprinkle it down to add a little color. Some of the fresh truffle that we had, I'm going to garnish that right on top to give it a little bit of character. We are going to take the end of the rosemary. So just the end, we are going to stick that right into the garlic butter dollop. And our scallions. I'm going to sprinkle on the carrots. Right on the plate. We'll pull some of the ones that came out. I'm going to add a little bit more pepper. I don't think we need any more salt. Just a little black pepper to give it some seasoning on the thing. Last but not least, the balsamic glaze. Now this is truffle infused. I love the way the balsamic really brings out a brightness in the dish. So we're just going to do a little pattern, very organically. And that's what we have.